Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with an absolutely splendid disc on New World Records of music by Ernst Toch. What a really marvelous composer Toch was. I mean, we don't talk about him much anymore, do we? But during the Weimar period in Germany in the 1920s and 30s, before Hitler came to power and he had to flee to America, you know the story. He was Jewish, he was exiled, he was part of a zillion composers who were exiled, and when he got exiled, he still made a decent career and living as a respected musician, but the bloom was off the rose. You know, he was just one of many, and it's a shame because he was a very gifted composer and wrote lots of cool music. The most famous piece that by Ernst Toch that we still perform is the Geographical Fugue for spoken chorus, which is absolutely amazing. I've done it, you know. I mean, it's more fun than anyone has any right to have, and it completely disguises the fact that he actually did have a musical style, like with notes and things like that. And the notes were often quite dissonant and chromatic. He was kind of like a German Mio. Do you know the Mio symphonies by like Darius Mio? You know, they're sort of polytonal, you know, so they have lots of clashing melodic lines and they're kind of bonily contrapuntal and whatnot. Well, he was kind of like that, but he had many different styles, and he was wonderfully willing to be as flexible as necessary in his music, and he was also fond of very strange instruments. For example, the hisser. The hisser is a compressed air cylinder, and it hisses. It goes psh, you know, we turn it on. You know, he used things like that. He did all kinds of inventive and wonderful things. And nowadays, he's as good as unknown, and it's a shame. His symphonies are available on CPO. We may talk about those. His string quartets have also been recorded, and they cover a wide range of musical expression and styles. It all deserves to be heard, needless to say. But there are only so many hours in the day. And so if you want to hear a really nifty collection that gives you a very good example of his range of expressive options, shall we say, this New World recording is a fabulous place to start. It consists of, let's see, the Piano Concerto No. 1 from 1926. It's fantastic. What a wonderfully inventive and powerful piece this is. And if you like piano concertos by, say, Prokofiev, like the Prokofiev of the second or the fifth, not the more populist third, or Bartók, or those people, you know, those wonderfully spiky and exciting and vivid modern piano concertos, you're going to really love Toch's first piano concerto. It's marvelously played here, by the way. Let's see who's marvelously playing it. By, I don't even tell you. Yes, of course they do. Todd. He's the pianist, and it's the NDR Hamburg Symphony Orchestra under Leon Botstein for the whole program. You know Botstein. I mean, he's doing the Orchestra Now here in New York, and he's absolutely famous for doing all kinds of interesting repertoire. He's usually pretty reliable when he's doing interesting repertoire, just as he's usually pretty unreliable when he's doing normal music. But here we're on safe ground. You know, he's a wonderful intellectual questing soul as a conductor. He's not really suited for the late romantic stuff, but this is not. So we're in good shape. So there's the first piano concerto. Then we've got Peter Pan, a fairy tale for orchestra from 1956 in 3 movements. And this is very interesting because this is not your musical Peter Pan. We're following the leader, the leader, the leader. We're following the leader. You know, it's not that. It's not that at all. It's actually a fairly dissonant and you know, musically sophisticated, shall we say, Peter Pan, but it is enchanting. That's the point. The style is a bit aggressive, and I think wonderfully so, and surprising given the subject matter, but it does manage to sound very fairy tale-ish at the same time, buoyant and fantastical, and that's the key. That's what makes this stuff so interesting. So that's a wonderful choice. And then we've got, let's see, Pinocchio, a Merry Overture. This is from 19 1935, it seems, yes. And it is just that. It's in a much easier, more populist style. It's merry, it's lots of fun. And you know the story. I don't think that there's a moment where you can hear his nose growing, but I could be wrong. You know, you can listen and tell me for yourself. And then finally, this is marvelous. Big Ben, Variation Fantasy on the Westminster Chimes. Well, we all know the tune. And so we can all delight in this absolutely brilliant feat of orchestral imagination where that tune gets put through some rather fascinating paces. It's really just terrific. I mean, the NDR Symphony Orchestra plays splendidly. Botstein conducts quite well. The sound is terrific. This is on New World Records, and you really ought to hear this. You just ought to hear this. This is a real musical voice, a master of orchestral sonority and timbre and imagination, and it deserves to be heard. And maybe it'll pique your interest to listen to some more of his stuff. He wrote a lot of music. There's tons of stuff that he wrote. Most of it hasn't been recorded, of course. And, you know, it divides naturally into his German period and his post-war period. But he does not deserve oblivion, as I'm sure you will agree when you hear this particularly splendid recording. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.